Hi there, Virgo. Welcome to your end of April 2025 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. I hope you can't hear any noise in the background. They're doing some work. I'm just going to, I might pause it if it gets really loud. Ooh, two cards. It's interesting. Two cards turned up. One was upside down, reversed, and one was right side up. So I'm doing both of these. Okay. The heart of the matter is the World card, which is the last card of the major arcana, and it really speaks to the end of a cycle. Now, one of the things that recently happened astrologically, I like to draw these astrological parallels or connections. There was lunar eclipse in your sign, which is a powerful full moon. This means that the sun opposes the moon at that time. The sun was in Pisces while you were having your lunar eclipse in your sign, and that's your seventh house, and so that could have really impacted relationships. So for some people, there's an end of a cycle that has come in terms of relationships, and really it's about you putting yourself first. The lunar eclipse is about letting go of maybe behaviors that you have engaged in order to curry favor with someone, in order to be that indispensable person in somebody else's life. That's what Virgo really likes to do. You like to be a helper. You like to be somebody who can improve the lives of others. And that's, beautiful, but sometimes it gets excessive, and sometimes you attract those types of people who need you to kind of save the day. So it becomes a very codependent type of relationship. And it doesn't mean that you've necessarily gone off on your own, but you can tell that something has ended. Of course, this could be in the workplace too. It can be in any area of life where you feel that something, and that's what that lunar eclipse in the first house can really symbolize, is this ending of a way of life for you in some way. In the past position, we have the Two of Pentacles. Well, I guess in some cases this may be work related, because this can be maybe going back and forth between two types of employment that you want to do, like maybe indecision, or doing two jobs, doing anything you can, kind of juggling your life to make ends meet. But maybe you realize that you're tired of that existence. Virgo is a very productive sign, and you tend to, you might take on too much because you could be a workaholic and things like that. And you might realize that that has to come to an end, because you can't do it all, and it's affecting a certain area of life that you really want to put a lot of emphasis in. So in other words, if you would like to homeschool your children instead of having them in school, or be there more for your children after school, that kind of thing, you might say, I'm done with that lifestyle that I thought was what I was supposed to do. I really want to do something else. The higher message is the Hierophant, and this is a card that is connected to the spiritual. It's connected to the sign of Taurus. It's really interesting because there's a lightning strike. I don't really know why there is. I'm assuming it has to do with anything to like spiritual, like you have this revelation or something like that. But I also think of, when I think of the lightning strike, like the eureka moment. But I also think of the energetics of it, like really feeling tapped into something versus going through the motions. And maybe because when I talk about the Six of Cups, you'll understand more about that feeling of really being aligned with what you're doing and the electricity of it, or the energy, as we say. I'm looking for words other than energy because it's such an overused word. But yeah, and when it comes to love, for instance, you may have realized the relationship has run its course, and or like it's the Hierophant is a card of marriage too. And if, let's say, you've been dating someone, or even if you've committed to them, it's not the ultimate commitment. You might feel like, no, I need to feel this energy that is connected to that person. It can't just be because I think they're nice, or I think that they um, are smart, or whatever. It has to be something more than that. And I also think with spiritual matters too, it's like maybe you're the kind of person who is very analytical. And I've been saying lately that, my moon is in Virgo. So I totally get that, because the moon is supposed to be this intuitive body, and I'm like analyzing everything. And that's the antithesis of somebody who is tuning into the spirit, because the mind is really like a gatekeeper. If you think about it, the mind is gatekeeping the spiritual wisdom, and kind of like it's almost like blocking it in a sense. But we think that the mind is the ultimate. So getting more in touch with that, and at a deep level. Um, but the thing too about the Hierophant, it's a card that I associate with conformity. It's a card of tradition, but it can be about conforming to the norms, the values. And you may realize that you don't want to do that because that isn't authentic to you, and that you haven't been leading an authentic life. What crosses you is the Three of Swords. This is a card. So if we're talking about relationship issues, you may have tried to break off with somebody over and over again and come back to them. Well, usually in those kinds of dynamics, I would say it's something where maybe that person is gaslighting, and they're acting like, oh, you're just overreacting. You're being too critical. You're a Virgo. You're doing this. Your standards are too high. Or they are saying that they have changed when they have not, and you want to believe it more than anything in the world. So it's like back and forth. And the Three of Swords can be all about like cutting something off very decisively and not looking back. It can actually be a card of heart surgery. So the surgeon doesn't, leave anything that isn't like clean, and they stitch it up, and that's it. It's not like, okay, we're going to go back and we're going to redo this. I mean, of course that does happen, but that's not considered the way it's done. The Three of Swords is also a card of rejection. And so, for instance, if someone is cheated on, one of the things, I mean, obviously there can be intense anger about it, but a Virgo person might be most likely to question themselves. What is wrong with me that person had to do that? Because Virgo is already hard on themselves. So that can open the floodgates for somebody who is a narcissist to take advantage of that, knowing about the insecurity of that person, and prey upon that. And that person might feel like, you know what, it's my fault. I didn't do a certain thing that I should have done. And if only I had, done this, that person would have never gone outside the relationship. So it's really about understanding that other people's struggles, issues are not necessarily a reflection on you. What's coming in is a Son of Swords, which is a Knight of Swords. In some cases, this can be consulting an attorney. In some cases, this is like showing you that change is afoot. Things are changing. And the World card certainly suggests that. So you have to be open to change. You can't be afraid of change. I don't think that a lot of Virgos are, though, because you're ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is all about, the word mercurial means changeable. It's all about change. And you're a mutable sign to boot. So, you probably can deal with it. I picked two cards. The first one I'm going to hold upright. The Magician card is the outcome. Be careful. Because I picked the first one reverse and the second one. They came out at the same time, by the way. And then the second one was upright. So this to me is the cautionary tale. Be careful about feeling like life is happening to you and that you're not able to co-create with the universe, as they say, that you have no option. Sometimes Virgo can be a lot like your opposite sign Pisces, of kind of that learned helplessness or that feeling. And actually Virgo has a very can-do spirit, but maybe it shows up, maybe your vulnerabilities are relationship wise, where you feel like I have to be a certain way, do a certain thing in order to have the type of relationship. So what she is saying would never fly, in real life. And that's, unfortunately, if somebody has always had that certain outcome, it's hard to imagine that something else could be true. But so I also got the Six of Cups. This is the card of the soulmate. And it's also the card of, when I think of soulmate, it's a card of childhood. It's a card of the idyllic times in childhood where you felt like so aligned, you're so at one with whatever you were doing. The simplicity. I think of Virgo as like a simple living type of a sign. So this is not really far from what I think about Virgo, but really the ultimate thing is your dharma, what you feel like your path is, what you feel your calling is. It can be sometimes that you got distracted from it by maybe well-meaning people that didn't know any better about what we're here for. Because it's so easy to lapse into that thing about the money, the education that you have to have, this and that, and not thinking about how somebody feels about what they're doing. Like when you get up in the morning, how do you feel? Do you dread, what you're about to do? Do you feel like really tired because you're doing something that's very hard or just very monotonous or something like that? These are so important. We're only here for a certain amount of time. So keep that in mind. And even for relationships, this idea, I love how they do with this card, even though this deck is a little bit inscrutable sometimes, at least this card, it shows like the roots, because this is a card connected with Cancer and the idea of family, well, the idea of children, but the kind of our past, our childhood, and the roots that are laid down. And of course, when you're an adult, you can do that too a second time. And sometimes you get diverted from what you came here to do. And so that becomes your goal, is to find out what that path was supposed to be. And that's something you can always do. You can be 50 years old and do it. You don't have to be 25 having a mid-20s life crisis. You can actually be somebody who's older. You could be in your 60s. I remember this one lady who I went to her workshop, and she said, what is retirement? Like, what do we retire from? Are we retiring from life? Because that's the kind of mentality. And it really comes from this idea of what we're doing every day is something that we don't want to do. So we want to plan for this time later on where we can do whatever we want. If that isn't probably the most twisted thing I've ever heard of, I can't even think about it. because that makes absolutely zero sense that you're going to sacrifice 40 years of your life for this fantasy of what, retirement is going to be like. When you feel plugged into something, and this is really true for Virgo because you're already this kind of very industrious, help-minded person, you don't want to just kind of like walk away and never help people. That's just like your life's blood. So it's like this. So it's very kind of off-putting to hear people talk about retiring because people have these gifts, and when you have gifts, it's a joy to share those gifts. And I'm not even talking about monetizing them. I'm just talking about doing them. So this is something to definitely think about at this particular time, which is the post retrograde period for you, which can still make all of those changes that I talked about come into play. It's not all, the date of the eclipse was March 14th, but we're only, as I record this, it's just like almost exactly 1 month later, so that can still happen, and even for months to come. So anyway, that's what I have for you, Virgo. I hope that this resonated. If you would like an astrological reading, tarot reading, or both, I have package deals, single readings. Please click the link below for more information. Thanks. Bye.